welcome to episode 65 of the U.S.S. Enterprise D tutorial. I'm Zero Elite, and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. And if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And today we got somewhat of a short one, only about 15 minutes. Um, but the next episode is going to be just over 20, so I didn't want to merge them together. It's fair to split this one up. But today we're going to be getting some interior work done on the lower hull of the ship. So right now I'm in the very bottom of the turbo lift in the neck that goes right down into the lower hull. We were working on this a couple of episodes ago, and today we're going to start working on our main walkways for what will become engineering, and then we're also going to start working on the deflector control room. So kind of cool. I'm very excited to get into this, and we're just going to hop right into this thing, and we're going to start working on our walkways. So I always say it's very important to get your walkways established first, because if you have your walkways done, then it starts to become easier to figure out where you're going to put everything. Gives you a little bit more of a layout to go off of rather than trying to figure that stuff out later. So I say always very important to get that established. As you look at it this way, you have your walkways kind of dividing your room up, and it makes it easier at that point to kind of pre-establish everything, if that makes sense. We're taking a slight break from working on the primary shuttle bay. We've been working on the shuttle bays for now the past 2-3 episodes back to back, and main reason why we're taking a break at this point, I was talking a little bit about this in the previous episodes, that it's just a little bit of a jigsaw puzzle figuring out exactly what I want to do and getting the main turbo lift to go up into the bridge into the lower hull and making that work in the lower hull sections. But we'll get there. But that's kind of why I took a break at this point in the build, because I was like, well, I'll let that marinate for a little while, figure out what I want to do, and then come back to it once I have a plan in place, the best plan that I can come up with that'll convey exactly what I'm looking for. You can see we're just clearing away some of the access that we have left over from where we're working on the deflector dish, which we can do, but we still just need to be very careful as we're deleting stuff, because we're literally right on the back end of it. Some of that is access, some of it's the deflector itself. But like I said, just take your time, you'll be in good shape. And these two sides that we're working off of right now, this is going to be what will turn into the two main hallways to get into engineering. Now, eventually, we're going to come off and we're going to have another hallway going to the left and going to the right and taking up all this space on the sides to have an additional hallway going around engineering. So this way we can get in the full back end of the ship. But I'm really excited when we actually get to build that out, because I'm pretty happy with how my engineering came out. I'm really excited to see what everybody thinks of it. I tried to stay as close as I possibly could to the Enterprise D's engineering, and I think it looks just like it. I mean, I built it exactly how it looked on the show, but then I added some things to it. What I mean by that is extra decks and things like that above it and below it to kind of flesh out engineering a little bit. So we've got our middle point here. I'm literally built right off the middle, and I'm going to be bringing this all the way back. Now this is going to get adjusted, because eventually the middle portion of this is going to become engineering itself, and we're going to have to make a walkway to go around it. So what we're doing right now, we're going to make a slight adjustment to. So I don't know if it's going to be in today's episode or if it's the next one where we build a rear turbo lift. But there's going to be a couple of turbo lifts in the lower hull, which will be kind of cool. Like I said, if in a perfect world, I would have had one main turbo lift going from the top of the neck to the very bottom of the lower hull, but because of the placement and also the shape of the ship, I actually got the most out of the turbo lift, the one that we have so far going through the neck as we possibly could, because we built it as far back as we could in the neck, and we built it as far down as we could in the lower hull, where it could actually go all the way up into the saucer section, which was very important. We need to make sure we're able to get in the upper section of our ship. Now, it's not necessarily a position I want to be in, because now we have to build a couple of more turbo lifts, but we're going to do it in a way that it kind of makes sense a little bit and you're not getting too lost going through the ship. Because that was another thing that I ran into on this build, where it was like, okay, well, if you have to have more turbo lifts to get around the different areas of the ship, then it's very important to have clear paths going through your ship so you don't get lost. Um, that's something that I've seen before on other builds, where there's so much time spent on adding in all these extra rooms and hallways and stuff, where it could become very easy to get lost in your ships. That's why, with my corridors, I try to make it simple purposely, while also staying true to how the corridors were built on these ships. So this way you don't get lost so much. That's when we're going through my tutorials. I never get lost from where I'm going, because in the manner that they're built, it's been designed this way so that you can't get lost. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing with this build. I mean, no different. But also very important to establish these things, because you, that's why, I kind of sound like beating a dead horse at this point saying this, but you take the time to plan this stuff out and do it right, then you're spending less time going back fixing your mistakes. And that's why you see me taking breaks from different areas of the ship here and there, because I'm trying to make a quality build. And if you're not exactly sure what you want to do, step away from it for a little bit and come back to it at a later point. But right now, I'm pretty confident enough in what I'm doing, at least in this point of the episode, that this area back here is going to be my one of my turbo lifts going down. But that main hallway that we just built from the primary turbo lift to this one, that's going to get adjusted, is what I'm getting at. And building out this turbo lift, at this point, it should be like second nature to you, because we're literally just repeating the same pattern that we've done previously, and we're just moving it to a different part of the ship. That's why one of the good things, you stay consistent with your builds. This way you're going through the ship, it looks consistent through and through. And also, it's going to become easier for you while you're doing it too, because you're not trying to come up with all these crazy patterns, because that's one of the benefits of the way these ships looked on Star Trek, is that there was a lot of these design traits that you get going room to room. So after a little while, it starts to become very easy to replicate this when you're doing it in different areas of the ship, which is pretty convenient, because now it's saving us building time, which is awesome. So we can focus that um, brain power that we need to come up with different areas of the ship. And like in this case, where we're trying to figure out what we're going to do with the primary shuttle bay, we can think about that while we're working on something that really doesn't require you to really think at all, because we're just repeating that same process again. But this is going to be pretty cool. It's crazy, because going back behind this turbo lift, I actually haven't even used this space where I'm at currently on my build, where I'm at right now, because I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to put back there. But I know I'm going to do something with it. I just haven't figured it out. Like, kind of the way I've done this build is that, at least for the lower hull anyway, I've started from the front of the going all the way to the front towards the deflector dish and worked my way back. That seemed to have suited me pretty well in this build, and it's actually worked out, because some of the rooms I've made in this section of the ship are massive. Like when the deflector control room is built out and you guys get to see it, hopefully you'll be impressed by it, because you'll be able to see the true scale in the ship with some of these giant rooms that I've developed on it. This is one of the things I was talking about, that we're going to be having over the top rooms to convey the size of the ship, which was something that we never got to see on the next generation, either for budgetary reasons or otherwise. But I think it's cool, at least, to do some things like that on here, because I feel like if they did have that budget, they probably would have. Um, It's crazy. Like I think about stuff like that every once in a while because like I look at some of these ships that are made on the modern shows, like Discovery. Maybe not so much with Discovery because they have a lot of practical sets, but like when the Kelvin, or not the Kelvin, but the Disco Era Enterprise showed up, they showed engineering. It was this giant room, but it was all CGI nonsense. Um, Now, granted, you can't make a set that large, but they could have maybe used miniature uh, models and things like that to make it look a little bit more real and have a little bit more of the practical effects in it to help it feel a little bit more real. Because I think that was one of the things that kind of threw me off a little bit is that like when you were looking at engineering, you really didn't necessarily know what you were looking at. It just felt like a giant glob of CGI, you know. And if they had that budget back then for Star Trek: The Next Generation, I think we would have seen a lot more of practical sets and miniature models to flesh out some of these larger rooms. Um, I tried to like when I was working, like perfect example, when I was working on the mall and then the aquarium, I was sitting there thinking to myself like, how would this look on the next generation? And hopefully, when we get to those episodes, you guys will like it, and hopefully, it fits within that universe because I did spend quite a bit of time working on it. I looked at different ships and just a bunch of different screenshots to give me inspiration to come up with this design. I also looked at pictures of malls too and things like that. That's why sometimes it's good to think outside the box. You never know what you're going to find on the internet, you know, if you just, unless you start going on there and looking around. But we're looking pretty good right now. I don't think we're going to build out every single deck um, entryway point for the secondary turbo lift right now anyway. I think the main point is I wanted the top and bottom established before we go and start working on the actual deflector dish itself. Because I wanted to have the this portion, the deck that we're on right now, I wanted to have this established because directly underneath that is going to be the ceiling for the deflector control room. So this is again one of these reasons why we're planning this stuff out now. Now getting back to what I got going on here, you can see I can only go so far back on this block, so I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So I'm just very gingerly deleting blocks here, little by little, um, which can be a tedious process here and there, but it's worth it because we're getting rid of some of the access that we had left over from the build to free up some room, maybe, and we're also taking the time to make sure that we don't delete anything that doesn't need to be deleted. So far, we're looking pretty good. We have our walkway established. We got a decent amount of room to work with here. May not look like it, but we've got pretty much all the room that we're going to need down here to do exactly what we want to do. That's something I can honestly say about this section of the ship. I had no problems doing exactly what I wanted to do down here, and that was pretty awesome. That's probably been the main benefit that I've had so far on this build is that I haven't had any constrictions while building, with the exception of like 2 rooms. Every other ship that I've done in the past, I've had to make exceptions here and there, and they always worked out for the best. But it's been nice having this extra room. But at the same token, it's been a pain in the butt because it's taken months of my time to render this ship out. Not that I'm complaining. I've actually very much enjoyed the Enterprise D, but I don't know. The more I work on this ship, the less I feel like I want to do another ship this size. But you never know. I might end up doing when I do the Enterprise E. At least I might end up at least doing it the same scale, just so that the proportions aren't messed up ship to ship, I should say. But then again, I may be so burnt out after doing a ship this size again, I might just scale it down a little bit more. But we'll see. We'll play that one by ear because again, I'm not really looking towards building the Enterprise E anytime soon. Even though I have had a couple of people ask for it, but not as many as you'd think. Not enough to make me want to do a tutorial at this time, but you never know. I, I, I've said this in the past. At one point, I think I'm going to do every single Enterprise that's um, been done, including the Star Trek Online Enterprise F. But it's just a matter of getting to them, and I'm not in a hurry to do all of them back to back. That's why I wanted to do the Cerritos, before, and that's why I want to do Voyager. I want to kind of broaden out a little bit and do some different ships too, and not just have this channel be about the Enterprise. It's really awesome because in the beginning, that's a lot of what it was really about. My Enterprise build. I had the Vengeance that was there, but really it was pretty much the journey of going down and building the 2009 Enterprise and then converting that to the Enterprise A from Star Trek Beyond. And then from there, we were right into building the Disco Era Enterprise. When we started doing the tutorials, and we had the Kelvin and the Discovery. I came out with those, but I didn't do tutorials for them. And again, those are other ships. I've had people ask for them, but not enough people to where I can justify doing a tutorial as of yet. I keep talking about it. I need to get my Discord links and um, set up and get my Discord finalized, but that's going to be coming real soon. I said it was going to be this week, but I had a lot of stuff that family wise that hit me this past weekend that I had to take care of that most of my efforts went into that I couldn't really focus on it. But this coming weekend, um, I'm really going to try to get my Discord in line. So this way, next week when I put out my episodes, I can start promoting the Discord because that will be awesome. There'll be so many things that I can do with the Discord channel that I can't do on my current YouTube channel, like with the polls on video on ships that people want me to build, and all sorts of cool stuff. So definitely keep an eye out for that. But I think that's going to wrap us up today. We just kind of shot through today's episode. I feel like we're just really getting a little bit of prep work done, but that's going to tie into the next episode where we really start working on the deflector dish. Um, and we'll be spending a lot of time down here because we work on engineering and then the other engineering decks as well as the whole deflector control room. So still a lot of cool stuff to come. But yeah, that's going to wrap us up today. I just want to thank everybody again for tuning in today's episode. And if you did enjoy this content, hit a like and subscribe on the channel. I definitely appreciate that. And of course, if you have any questions regarding today's episode, be sure to drop a comment below, or any ships you want to see me build, or just dropping by to say hey. Definitely love hearing from everybody. And yeah, I think that's going to do it. Just want to thank you all again for tuning in today's episode. I hope everybody has a happy and safe weekend, and I'll catch you on the next episode. And of course, what did you make in Minecraft today? Let me know in the comments section.